That's right. Incumbent Democrat Representative Michael Ray has requested a recount in all 3 counties that make up the 27th House District. He currently trails Rodney Pierce, a Halifax County school teacher, by just 35 votes. Behind me, at the tree line, you can see part of the 192 acres that is supposed to become an entertainment complex that would have contained a casino. But a couple days later, I talked to Senator Greg Meyer right here in front of Colorado Labs. In North Carolina state politics, the state Senate just passed the new House election maps, the state House election maps, into law, which means that you'll be voting for different state House members in 2024. Do you think the legislature has the will to pass more gun control?
I don't believe the current legislature has the will to pass any type of gun safety provisions.
To get the Republican side, I traveled to Henderson, North Carolina, a small town in Vance County just south of the Virginia border. I'm here at the Sossaman Funeral Home to talk to Representative Frank Sossaman, who just finished his first year in the General Assembly. Sorry that live shot's not working, but I can tell you that Mark Robinson right now has a commanding lead in the gubernatorial race. So does Josh Stein.
And now we have some breaking news.
In state politics, the state Senate just passed the new House election maps, the state House election maps, into law, which means that you'll be voting for different state House members in 2024. Now, the other 2 bills are still making their ways through various committees and through the House chamber, but we're expecting votes on those later today, and for those also to become law. Back to the desk.
I am sick of thoughts and prayers. I want bills and I want change.
UNC Young Democrats, March for Our Lives, and other student organizations held a rally on campus last Wednesday after a deadly shooting on campus. TJ White, the president of UNC Young Democrats, says enough is enough.
So my hope is that out of that event, which was attended by about 600 people, that people will get involved in these organizations.
Their next move? A rally at the General Assembly next week when the legislature reconvenes. White says they want to put pressure on the legislature and have students' voices heard. Representative Alan Boynsey, who represents Chapel Hill and Carrboro, says that he has been inspired by students' actions.
And I'm just, left with a tremendous sense of grief, but then also infused with the passion and spirit that our students have demonstrated this week.
UNC Young Republicans did not respond to our request for comment. Earlier this year, Republicans overrode the governor's veto on a bill that repealed pistol permits in the state. That means North Carolinians no longer have to get a permit from the sheriff's office to buy a handgun. Democrats in the General Assembly are calling for more gun safety legislation, such as universal background checks and red flag laws. Republican House Speaker Tim Moore, a UNC alum, said in a statement on the day of the shooting that he was, quote, heartbroken, unquote, by the situation and offered prayers. Republican U.S. Senator Tom Tillis said, quote, we must all continue to work together to protect our schools, confront the nation's mental health crisis, and keep firearms out of the wrong hands, unquote. With Republicans having a supermajority in the General Assembly, any potential new gun legislation would have a hard path ahead of it. Senator Greg Meyer, who represents Orange County, says that Republicans have consistently rebuffed their efforts.
There's a lot of things we could do, but Democrats have proposed bills and amendments every year for the 10 years I've been in the legislature, and Republicans have shot down every one.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Walter Reinke, Carolina Week.
Like I mentioned, that was my backyard. I had a lakefront property for a while.
Brianna Goodwin was in Lumberton for Hurricane Matthew in 2016 and then Hurricane Florence 2 years later.
This is when 95 itself flooded out, and so you see how much was underwater. You see a car that was submerged.
Both hurricanes hit Lumberton, the seat of Robeson County, hard.
It was waist-deep water around this entire corridor, particularly the center.
Goodwin is the executive director of the Robeson County Church and Community Center, the largest faith-based nonprofit in Robeson County. But flooding from Hurricane Matthew forced them to find a new, temporary home. In the aftermath of the storm, they gave items from medical supplies to feminine hygiene out to the community. Hurricane Matthew flooded the entire county, preventing anyone or anything from getting in or out.
Quite literally, you were trapped in Robeson County. We were an island.
Just 2 years later, the city faced the same problem.
Since Matthew was called a 500-year storm, we thought we would have at least a decade, right, to plan this.
The city's public works director, Rob Armstrong, is the head of a project that is hoping to prevent another Matthew or Florence.
Now we're going to build a floodgate in this area that has a swing gate that will close the area whenever it floods.
The floodgate will be built over the railroad under I-95, right behind 5th Street, in the area that is most vulnerable to flooding. It will prevent water from entering into the town during any future storm, protecting buildings like the West Lumberton Baptist Church.
The church here was one of the first structures flooded. It had about 18 inches of water in the fellowship hall and other areas.
Driving around Lumberton, you can see some of the other mitigation measures the city has put into place.
So this is a portable dewatering pump.
From pumps that prevent rainwater from building up to a barrier around the city's water plant to ensure that it never stops running, like it did during Hurricane Matthew. Armstrong says the city will spend well over $30 million on projects in the decade after Matthew. The floodgate has received $10 million in funding from various sources, including a $5 million appropriation from the General Assembly.
I tell you, none of this could really happen without outside funding.
That money is all important for communities like Lumberton that are still reeling from past flooding.
The fact is, there's probably some anxiety to when it rains with the unknown of how much rain is really going to fall.
You can still see the remnants of those storms throughout the city in the abandoned buildings and the people that left and never came back.
There's measurable population loss, almost 150,000 down to around 120,000. So tens of thousands of people are no longer here.
But the floodgate is one way to give the people that remain hope.
Maybe they won't have to endure what they have before, and that the city and that the county, and the powers that be are really concerned about their well-being and taking proactive steps, to prevent what happened from happening again.